Let us for a few moments think of the Divine Lord and pray for the welfare of the whole humanity. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamasto ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sthapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine. Sthapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine. Avatara varishtaya Ramakrishna Yate Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions in the world, the supreme incarnate of the divine. Let us pray to him to lead us from unreal to the real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to light, to lead us from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So this peace chant has got a very vital message for us. That is, we will have to abandon whatever that is not permanent. Whatever is not permanent is sure to perish. So, we shouldn't cling ourselves to the things of impermanent nature. So we have to abandon all the things that are impermanent. Then only we can follow the path of light. Then only we can get into the realm of reality. We are all in the realm of unreal things all around us. We are surrounded by all impermanent things. We must have to get out of them. So here, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna shows us the way, lead us from the unreal to the real. That means we must give up all kind of attachment to the impermanent things, which follows that we must practice renunciation in our life. Though we are in the world, we are not of the world. That is the purpose of renunciation. Here is a glorious example of Sri Ramakrishna, the master of renunciation, who lived in this world, who lived like a householder, but at the same time he lived like a monk supreme. Even Holy Mother Sharda Devi, though she married and lived a life of householder, she was a perfect sannyasini. Here is the model for us to show that it would be possible to practice renunciation when we follow disciplines in our life. Even though a person may be a householder, even though he may have some responsibilities to fulfill, he must have some kind of internal discipline so that mind doesn't go astray. Mind is not taken away by the world. On the other hand, mind should be taken away from the world. It should be a reverse process. That is why in our ancient tradition, both these paths are prescribed. One is pravritti marga, that is the life through the experience of the family life. The other is nivritti marga, completely renouncing everything and seeking the highest truth. Both of them reach the same goal, though the paths are quite different. Disciplines are quite different, but disciplines must be followed. That is what Sri Ramakrishna tells. It's only then we would be able to get away from unreal to the real. What is this darkness of ignorance? It is nothing but Maya. It is nothing but, to put in nutshell, what is this Maya? In nutshell, if I have to say, it is nothing but lust and wealth. Lucre for lust and wealth. Mind is smashed when it comes under the influence of these two elements. When we do not know how to make use of the wealth in a proper way, when we do not know how to have some kind of discipline in our enjoyment, then all the problems come. So, the more and more we are entangled in these two aspects, hankering after the pleasures of the world, hankering, too much going towards them, and completely engaging oneself wholeheartedly for getting more and more and more wealth. The mind is not satisfied even though sufficient wealth is given, even though person is enjoying, He wants to enjoy more, more and more, more and more. No end, limitless enjoyment he wants to do. But the senses rebel at one point. The mind rebels at one point. The whole body rebels at one point. The whole constitution rebels at one point. Then he will have to make a painful retreat. But then, some people do require such kind of experience in their life, no doubt. Experience is the best teacher in life. But it does not mean everyone will have to pass through the same kind of experience. One can learn by seeing the sufferings of others. One can learn by seeing how people stumble in the darkness. It is not necessary that I must also go into darkness and I must also stumble. Why don't we learn? But then, sometimes we may be too weak to learn the things. We may be too weak to practice spirituality in our life. Herein comes the help of the Divine Master. Look, it is not difficult as you think. It is not difficult as you imagine. It is simple and at the same time practical. So, Sri Ramakrishna shows the way how to get out of this darkness of ignorance. How to get into the light of knowledge. What is that knowledge? God is real. God is everything. God is permanent. He is everlasting peace, bliss. He is knowledge absolute, peace absolute, bliss absolute. All these three in one is called Parabrahman. We are part and parcel of this nature. That is our inherent divine nature. We have forgotten that on account of various factors. So, we come under the influence of Maya, illusion, thinking the rope to be snake. That is how we are thinking the unreal world as a real. And we are pursuing the things of the world. In such a way, we are losing everything. All our resources are completely exhausted. So, here Sri Ramakrishna comes to lead us literally from the darkness of ignorance, that is Maya, to the light of knowledge, that is Paramatma. And the last part of the peace chant, from death to immortality. We are terribly afraid of death. Why? Because we are totally identifying ourselves with this body. We think we are body. We think too much of our individuality. In spite of our thinking too much about ourselves, we will have to get out of this body. In spite of our super strength that we may possess on this level, in this physical plane, in this world, no power can stop anybody from getting out of this body. No power can prevent anyone from death. It is only spiritual beings. They know what death means and they know it 100%. For them, there is no fear of death at all. They are enjoying that immortal nature all the time. Though they are present in the body form, they are completely aware of the impermanence of this body. They never give any importance to the continuation of the same body forever. Why? When I am not this body, why should I become attached to that? Even after getting aged, even at the advanced age of 95 or 96, we want to live even more. The idea doesn't come, what is the use of this? Why not I cast away this body? That to persist in this body continues because of our identification with this body, one. Secondly, because of the fear, terrible fear, what might happen. Anyway, Sri Ramakrishna here shows by his personal example and his instructions how this terrible death could be conquered, how one could enjoy absolute freedom even while in this life. You take the example of all these direct disciples, direct apostles, the apostles of Sri Ramakrishna, how they were all ever blissful even in this very life. They worked for the society. They loved everyone without any distinction. And they showed to them all what boldness really means. What is boldness? It is rising over the lower nature, trampling upon our lower nature, rising above to the level of spirituality. That is boldness. That is boldness. If we don't have, we must develop it. We must cultivate. Everything is possible. So, Sri Ramakrishna has come to lead us as a loving mother leads her child with all kindness and affection. Sri Ramakrishna is here to guide us all, to lead us all into that highest realm of spirituality. So whenever a person would come in front of Sri Ramakrishna, he would observe what sort of person he was. Whether he was fit enough to have the glimpse of this spiritual life. Whether he is capable of stepping into this realm of the spiritual world. Whether he has got any grit or a shallow person. He would find out the metal, what sort of metal, whether it is strong or weak. Sri Ramakrishna would give the example of bullock. The farmers, they want a very strong bullocks so that they may plow in the fields. So in order to select the best ones, what they would do, they would go to the market. Lot of bullocks are there. But then they go and touch the tail of the bullock. Some bullocks, as soon as they are touched, they become so soft, they lie down, inviting, let him massage my body. That way, they are useless. They are good for nothing. They are not useful for work. They reject such bullocks. They go on testing each bullock there. Some bullocks are very, very sensitive. If the tail is simply touched, they simply jump they dance, they show their spirit, they frisk about. Immediately they conclude, this is the best one. Immediately they purchase it, even if it is costly, doesn't matter, they purchase it. Swami Vivekananda, Narendra Nath, he belongs to that type of bullock. That is how Sri Ramakrishna recognizes the great spirit in Swami Vivekananda, who came to America and spent his major portion of life, his whole life I should say, was spent in America. Is it a joke to come from such a far off land like India, to come to this, from east to west, completely another direction? Why? Because he wanted to give the message of Sri Ramakrishna. He wanted to show to the people of America who is the Sri Ramakrishna. He wanted to give the nectar he himself had tasted. That nectar is gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which very nicely expounds the philosophy of Vedanta in all its aspects. Once you read this whole book and understand line by line, word by word, I tell you, you need not have to study any other book at all. This contains everything. All the knowledge is embedded here. And so nicely, in so vivid language it has been given. So we should try to understand them and practice in our life. Time is very short. Life is very short. So, no use of grumbling or complaining over the things. Let us put an end to all such things. No purpose is served by that way. What I do today is to my credit. So let me do. If I am not able to do, it's a loss for me. So how much we are calculating in terms of worldly prosperity, profit and loss, but how much we are negligent as far as our spiritual prosperity is concerned. So, Sri Ramakrishna immediately found out Narendra Nath as the best bullock, the person who could work very hard, whose metal was very strong, like diamond. He was like a diamond. And Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of some people who are useless, namby-pamby. He compares them to the flattened rice soaked in milk. Puss, it goes down. So, you must know this higher type of understanding, this higher type of spiritual life is possible if you have tremendous inner strength. Inner strength. Remove all the coverings of the weaknesses, then the inner strength manifests itself in all its glory. That is very much important, very much required if you have to enjoy, if you have to experience the spiritual wealth. That is why the famous Upanishad, it often tells, Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. This wonderful Atman, which is in the form of light in our heart, this cannot be seen or realized by weaklings. So, we must build up our strength. That's very, very important. Very important. Physical strength and mental strength and then spiritual strength. That is the super strength. There is no strength equal to spiritual strength. So this aspect Sri Ramakrishna explained in the Gospel, which I read in the last class. Then he just puts Master Mahashaya into test. He just wanted to know how much he could grasp. So he just asks him, well, what do you think of me? What is your impression about me? Sri Ramakrishna is telling him. Just he wants to know. Of course, Sri Ramakrishna, the knower of everything, he knows everything, but still he wants that expression to come from Master Mahashaya himself. What does he feel about him? Master Mahashaya replied, Sir, who am I to speak about you? But you have asked that question. I have the greatest impression in my mind that you are knowledge itself. You are manifesting ecstatic love in all your movements, talks, actions. Everything is exhibiting that fine quality of perfect love. The love that seeks nothing in return. The love which is always to be given to everybody. That ecstatic love. That tremendous faith in God. Sri Ramakrishna would always repeat, Mother, Mother, Divine Mother Kali. In fact, he has told many times to his disciples, who is there here inside? Mother Kali. As Hanuman would say, who is there inside? Ram. Sri Ram. That's the thing. And Master Mahashaya further said, Master, I am very much moved by your masterly renunciation and Catholicity. So he could understand Sri Ramakrishna so clearly by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna himself. Certain kind of purity is required to recognize a spiritual, a holy person. Here Master purified Master Mahashaya by his frequent teachings and love and affection. So Master Mahashaya could understand Sri Ramakrishna. Then there is another point which was read in the last class. Then the chapter was concluded. Now today I am going to start the second chapter. Master Mahashaya liked the company of Sri Ramakrishna very much. Whenever he would be in his company, he would not think of going back home at all. It so happened it would be late evening, the time is up, he has to return to Calcutta from Dakshineshwar. It's a long distance. But even then, he doesn't want to go. He wants to remain there. That is tremendous divine attraction he has felt. And he's praying to Sri Ramakrishna. He loved when Sri Ramakrishna sang a song. He loved to hear more songs. When he expressed his desire, Sri Ramakrishna told him, well, today I have sung enough. If you want to hear me singing, please come to Balaram Bose's house. It is in Calcutta. He agreed, Master Mahasaya, but then he was hesitant because he thought Balaram Bose was a rich man. Whether I would be liked by the people there, whether they would allow me inside. Sri Ramakrishna immediately said, don't worry about that. He is not like ordinary rich people. He is rich at the same time. He is wonderful, genuine. He is rich not only materially, he is rich in spiritually also. So don't worry about that. Just mention my name. Just tell them, I want to see Sri Ramakrishna. Immediately they will bring you, somebody will bring you to me. That is how Sri Ramakrishna maintained his contact with the devotees. Once they come in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, they would be always coming. They would love to come more and more. Love to come more and more. I wish in the same way here our devotees should come more and more. They must love to come to Vedanta Society. What has happened to our devotees? Always thinking about family, family, family. Family will not go away. It will remain. 1 hour or half an hour or 15 minutes is difficult to attend evening service. What a meritorious deed it is. Mahapurush, once I will tell you about that sometime later. In the course of my talk, at the proper time, I would like to tell you. It is really meritorious to even witness the evening service. So much of influence it has got. It will influence the mind. It purifies the mind. Just be witness to that. Everything will be taken care of. All the process will be done by God Himself. But you have to come here, you have to sit. That much self-effort you must do. Regarding that I spoke on Sunday on the equation of spirituality, self-effort and self-surrender. So coming to the chapel is a self-effort. It's an effort because you can't come otherwise. Even though you would like to come, you will not be able to come because so many pulls are there which make you not to come. Anyway, but here Sri Ramakrishna established such a relationship with them. He need not have to call them. They would themselves come. They would love to come more often. That is how Sri Ramakrishna trained each one. And we could understand Sri Ramakrishna's teachings because of Sri Ramakrishna's masterly training of the devotees in a special way. Now that concludes the chapter 1, and I shall read a few lines in the chapter 2, then I shall invite you to offer your comments and observations on the topic which we had read last week. Page 93, in the company of devotees. About 8 o'clock in the morning, Sri Ramakrishna went as planned to Balaram Bose's house in Calcutta. It was the day of the Dole Yatra. Ram, Manomohan, Rakal, Nitya Gopal and other devotees were with him. Master Mahasaya too came as bidden by the Master. The devotees and the Master sang and danced in a state of divine fervor. Several of them were in an ecstatic mood. Nitya Gopal's chest glowed with the upsurge of emotion, and Rakal lay on the floor in ecstasy, completely unconscious of the world. The master put his hand on Rakhal's chest and said, "Peace, be quiet." This was Rakhal's first experience of ecstasy. He lived with his father in Calcutta and now and then visited the master at Dakshineshwar. About this time he had studied a short while in Vidyasagar's school at Shampakar. When the music was over, the devotees sat down for their meal. Balaram stood there humbly like a servant. Nobody would have taken him for the master of the house. Master Mahasaya was still a stranger to the devotees, having met only Narendra at Dakshineshwar. A few days later, M visited the master at Dakshineshwar. It was between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The master and he were sitting on the steps of the Shiva temples, looking at the temple of Radha Kanta across the courtyard. The master went into an ecstatic mood. Since his nephew Hridaya's dismissal from the temple, Sri Ramakrishna had been living without an attendant. On account of his frequent spiritual moods, he could hardly take care of himself. The lack of an attendant caused him great inconvenience. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Kali, the Divine Mother of the universe. He said, "Mother, everyone says my watch alone is right. The Christians, the Brahmos, Hindus, Muslims all say my religion alone is true. But Mother, the fact is that nobody's watch is right. Who can truly understand thee? But if a man prays to thee with a yearning heart, he can reach thee through thy grace by any path. Mother, show me sometime how the Christians pray to thee in their churches. But Mother, what will people say if I go in? Suppose they make a fuss. Suppose they don't allow me to enter the Kali temple again. Well then, show me the Christian worship from the door of the church." I think we should stop here. Now, it's your session. Let us share. Yeah, see, Maya is a very general term. Maya is that which deludes the person, which makes one to believe the unreal as real, which makes one to cling to the objects of the world, which makes one cling to the body, which makes one cling to the attachments, which makes him more and more involved in the worldly affairs. All these things come under Maya. So many shades of Maya are there. So Sri Ramakrishna, he put them just in these two words. The most distracting things in this world are this lust and wealth. People are immediately drawn towards that. So, though in the beginning they say, let me have that experience, but once they get into that, they can't come out of it. So, that is the danger of this Maya. Glamorous, but dangerous. It is just like a pool where the swirling pool is there. Once any object is got into that current, the inner current, water current, it draws down to the bottom. It doesn't allow the thing to come up. That whirling current is there. In the same way, Maya is a whirling current. Once you are caught in that net, it drags you, it takes you down. One must be expert swimmer, then only there is chance. Even then, it's difficult to say how many people could come out of that current. So, we have to take proper steps at the proper age itself, so that we are not entangled in those things. That's what Sri Ramakrishna tells. Yes, grace is recognized only through our self-effort. So suppose we read Sri Ramakrishna's life, by that we feel drawn towards his noble life, we feel drawn towards his noble teachings. So once we are drawn, that is the indication that the grace of the Lord is upon us. Otherwise, they may not read them at all. They may just say, no, I have no time to read, I have got something to do. Like that, they may give some excuse and they may just go away. But no, once they read, they get more and more interest in that, and they begin to study more and more. Particularly in this modern age, these books are our holy company. These books are our holy association. We can't get holy people all the time, everywhere. But books are possible. We can keep the books in our home. We can maintain that holy atmosphere in our place, wherever we are. Daily reading something and trying to practice little by little. We would feel slowly inside that how glorious these values, spiritual values are. So if we recognize that, that is the indication. If you develop a taste for this spiritual life, that is the indication that grace is coming. But another thing is there. Grace can come, one can recognize grace only when, to a certain extent, all the impurities of the mind are removed. If the mind is grossly entangled in the worldly affairs, even though he may read some books casually, it will not go deep into his heart. Just he reads, but it doesn't make any impression on him, because his mind is covered by so many thick layers of impurities. So he is after so many things of the world. He wants to get this and that, etc., etc. And he wants to do so many things. So he thinks those things are more important than this. So even though occasionally he reads, it doesn't produce any effect upon him. It's just like people going to temple. People go to temple, no doubt. Going to temple is a wonderful act, no doubt. It's a meritorious act. It is true. We are going to the abode of Lord Himself. It is there where the Lord is being worshipped in a very proper way. That's true. But how many people do have the real effect of going to temple? If the mind is not ready, if the mind is not tuned properly, they just go and come. It will be just for expecting something of the worldly nature. But then they go and they pray for something, that's all. Somebody else was telling the other day, Swamiji, my son has appeared for the medical exam. He has worked very hard, but we are praying that he may get success in the exam. That's our prayer. You please pray for us also, Swamiji, like that he was telling. I appreciate his attitude, true. But his prayer is meant for some this kind of, he is sit for exam, you please get him success. What is the real prayer? The real prayer should be, let everybody get success in this world. Let everybody be saved. Let everyone be freed from bondage. Let everyone be freed from misery and sorrow. That is the real prayer. So, but all people cannot understand. They can't go to that high level all at once. So, these types of, somehow they must have some contact with God. It's all right, let them come. But it takes long time for them to seek God for the sake of God. We want you because we want you, nothing else. So that should be our attitude. Then everything becomes easy. That is, Guru means there are two types of Gurus. One Guru I have already told. The books themselves are holy company. Authentic books. The books, for example, Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana is there. Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas is there. Anybody who reads, anybody, let him be anybody. If he knows the language, if he reads it, if he puts his mind, tears should come. If the tears come, that indicates he has received the grace of the Lord. If the tears do not come by reading such books, that means his mind is not ready. His mind is occupied with so many things. He wants to enjoy the world more. He wants to have more and more experience in the world. He is not yet ready to receive that. So, that is one way. Physically speaking, physical representation of the Guru, of course the teacher, the holy person who initiates the disciple and who takes the responsibility of the spiritual life, he could inspire the disciple by his own personal life. That is why the Guru's life is very important. The Guru has to live in such a way he should be model to the disciples. And one can have the benefit of grace when one serves the Guru wholeheartedly. That itself is a very high spiritual work. It is a worship, as it were. It is really a worship. So by doing service to Guru, one can get the grace. To give an example, Acharya Shankar, he had 4 or 5 disciples. One of them had just come new. He was very devoted, but he was doing all the duties given to him. One of the duties was he was to wash the clothes of the Guru. Acharya Shankar's clothes he was washing. One day it so happened he could not complete the job. It took about 2-3 minutes late. Couldn't complete the job. In the meantime, the other students who were learning Upanishads from the Acharya, they were impatient and they wanted to start the class. Acharya Shankarji is sitting there. But they began to chant the peace, chanting mantras and giving the indication, let the class be started. And then Acharya Shankar says, wait, that boy also has to come. Suppose we start the class, he will miss the points. Let him also come. No doubt he is late. But here, how Guru is gracious, how he is kind-hearted. He could have simply said, all right, we shall start. No. He is very much concerned. As he is concerned about these students, he is very much equally concerned about that boy also who was doing work. So, he said, let us wait, let him come. But these boys, they were all highly intellectually developed disciples. Each one was very great, no doubt. They were all very famous. But then, they said, what Swamiji, they are telling Acharya Shankar, what Swamiji, what does he understand? Thinking they are very highly intellectual people and that guy has come new and that guy doesn't know anything. He has to start from alphabet and what can he understand? So let us start the class and in course of time let him. This is the attitude. When these disciples, they are also his disciples, when these disciples pointed out that way, what did Shankara do? Simply willed, strong willpower, that is Guru. He willed that person who was washing the clothes with unflinching devotion, with wholeheartedness. He willed, let that person immediately become wise and become a person of knowledge. Let all the knowledge manifest in him. He willed. As I told you, after 2-3 minutes he came back. He was a Pandit. He recited wonderful Sanskrit slokas, verses. All the other disciples who were commenting on him, they were stunned. They were stunned. They couldn't believe how could he become like goddess Saraswati. How could he become? Immediately they realized it is Shankaracharya's grace. It removed all the ignorance, removed all the layers of ignorance covering the intellect, and the intellectual power manifested in all its glory. That is how the Guru leads the persons. Sometimes it varies from person to person. If you study Sri Ramakrishna's life, you will understand how he would train each one. Sometimes he would show grace by scolding. Don't think the scolding is not useful. Scolding is necessary, but it depends on who is scolding whom. That is very important. The person who scolds must have that strength to correct him. Once Sri Ramakrishna scolded Swami Brahmananda severely for small mistake. Why he was so severe? Because he wanted these apostles to become models in the future. So he wanted them perfection in everything. So with that in view, he corrected him and he scolded him. He couldn't tolerate that scolding. He was about to leave and he was going to near the gate. But then he can't go. His limbs got almost paralyzed. He couldn't go out of the gate. Why? Sri Ramakrishna's grace. It held him. You rascal, where are you going? How can you go? How can you go? The cobra has caught hold of the frog. How can the frog expect to get released from the cobra? Once it is caught means you finished. Like that, Sri Ramakrishna has taken him. How can he go? He came back. That is the thing. So it depends upon the quality of the Guru. That's very important. Very important, quality of the Guru. But where to find such quality, high qualified Gurus? That's also a question, big question. So that's why what we generally recommend is, we rely upon the holy books which are authentic, which are recorded in a perfect way. They are our Gurus, and the Gurus, they are just instruments, those who have not yet realized that perfection. See, in our tradition it is said, father and mother, they are the Gurus. Even though they are not illumined, they are Gurus, they are considered as Gurus. If the child looks upon his parents as Guru, his life will be glorified. So the Guru element, that is God, that protects you, that will show you grace in so many ways. In so many ways you will get help. In so many ways you will be able to understand the things. That's it. Not all of them are working. No. Some, yeah, because they came in the beginning itself, so they were not. In one case, Niranjananandaji, he was working. He was coming to Sri Ramakrishna, at the same time he was working also outside. But that's for a short time. But most of them, they all give up everything and come. But the strength, that is how we must give right direction to our strength. That's all. If we use our strength in a proper way, wonderfully we can do things. But what happens is, we increase our wants. We try to do more than what is required. Because the nature of things demands like that. So in that process, we go out of the control. That's what I feel. Otherwise, it should not be difficult for the devotees to come to chapel. Chant the name of the Lord. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of their heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name that bought for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree, take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame, as many times as I may be reborn. Grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence. Though it tears my soul asunder, O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may all the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be free from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.